Good morning, YouTube. Good morning, YouTube. This is your homegirl, Arabia Barbosa, 914, Westchester County, New York. We are in the motherfucking house. We are in the motherfucking house, and we have been in this house for at least 45 minutes. So I have to rush in and come and do this video. I'm not rushing to do anything. I'm going to speak from the dome. I'm going to speak from my heart about the foster care system in New York. Is it servicing our youth, our future generations of young people, or is it a disservice? Does it need to be reformed? Those are the questions that are being posed in this video. When the New York foster care system started in New York, it started in 1853 by a man named Charles Loring Brace. Mr. Brace began the free foster home movement in 1853. Yes, he did. He was a minister and director of New York Children Aid Society. He was concerned about the large number of immigrant children sleeping on New York streets. After he started this, there began different laws being passed concerning the foster care system. And in 1912, it was required different regulations for each state, for each foster home to be licensed. In other words, they wanted the foster parents to be licensed. They wanted them to go through certain classes and to get licensed. Not only did you have to get licensed, you had to have references. It could have been from your church. Mostly they took references from the churches. And we all know what happens with that. The children that enter the foster system are not being serviced. Some make it, some don't. Some are chosen, some are not. It is a very harsh reality. It must be very difficult for some of these women to actually give birth to children, raise them for a little while, and then surrender them to the state. The state gives funds to this system. The federal government gives funds to this system, but this system is broken. This system is flawed. This system is corrupted. This is your homegirl, Arabia, about number 4, Westchester County, New York. Shout out to the chat. Shout out to my YouTube creators, my subscribers, my chat members, my moderators, those that write in my comments section. I want to talk today about the New York State foster care system. Is it helping our youth? Is it? Because if this system started in 1853 and got regulated in 1912, and then a few years later down the line, there were some other changes done. There was some other changes made. Does it help the children in New York State? Some of these children enter the foster care system as young as a newborn. In my case, I was 18 months old when I entered. These children are usually forgotten. They're forgotten and they are not seen as people, they are seen as numbers, a paycheck. Everyone knows how New York State gets down with foster care children. All the foster care parents have to be licensed. But let's say they pass the licensing branch of this. They pass the testing phase of this. Some of those people carry their own hurts, their own insecurities, and their own greed. And this is a reality. We have seen it time and time again. California is the biggest state that fosters a lot of foster children. We've seen what happened to Marilyn Monroe. We've seen what happened to Billie Holiday. We've seen what happened to DMX. We've seen what happened to these individuals. They wasn't treated well when they went into these institutions that was funded by the state and the federal government. Now, someone has to answer for the abuses that happens in that system. Not only do they have foster care homes, but they have group homes, they have lockdown facilities for some of these children. Some of these children end up having emotional disturbances, mental health disturbances, and maybe physical disabilities. These children are left without parents. There are no true guardians. Some people take the children because they want to help the children, but there are others, and they outnumber the good, that just take the children just for the paycheck. If the child is found to be disabled in any way in the state of New York, the parents, don't you know the parents receive 2 checks? Not only do they receive 1 check, they receive 2. They are given an allowance for the children's clothing, but they're not offered any therapy. They're not offered any other services because they don't really care about the kids. They don't give a fuck about the children. Some of these children end up in homes where they are being neglected and abused. Let's talk about it. We have to have a serious discussion about this topic because it happened to me. We can pass through the system like sand in someone's hand, passing through, never really being helped, never really being grabbed by people that are truly interested in us. In my case, I went into the foster care system at 18 months old. You know why I went there? Because I had 2 parents that were immature, and they was more interested in living a street life than taking care of their responsibility. And their responsibility was bringing their children, good homes. They wasn't concerned about that. They were concerned about getting high, about going to the next party, about snapping their fingers, about going out and leaving the children alone. We was placed in the foster care system because my mother was careless. My mother didn't give a fuck. Just like a lot of women, they use that system as a way of getting rid of their children, getting rid of their problem, getting rid of their concern. The foster care system would not exist if parents were more on their job. Look at the animal kingdom. Look at it. Animals protect their children better than humans do. Shout out to the chat. Shout out to the chat. I didn't really get any stability until I went to fucking prison. I did 6 years and 7 months. 6 years and 7 months for a crime I committed. I never shied away from my responsibility of what I did that was wrong. Even though I knew it was wrong, I did not run from the police. And that's what a lot of the children that is in that system, they don't do. They don't run from the police. They don't respect authority. They care nothing about authority. Somebody's calling me. They're gonna have to call me back later. Middle of a live video. Shout out to the chat. But it is what it is. The foster care system is corrupt. The foster care system is filled up with people that don't care about the children. You don't believe me? Go over there and look at DMX life. See what he says about Children Village. See what he says about Children Village. It was right outside Yonkers, New York. I passed by that place plenty of times on the bus, on the 6 bus when I was living in New York. Shout out to the chat. Those foster kids, some of those foster care parents do not give a fuck. They don't give a fuck about their children. They just want the fucking money. And that's what's happening. Generation after generation. Don't you know that in certain group homes that certain black children went to, the little black girls that laughed too loud, that talked too loud, was punished, wrapped in a sheet, and thrown into a tub filled with cold water and ice. And if that didn't work, then they did other things to those children. They sterilized those children. You don't know anything about that. Because that foster care system that was created in 1853 was only created for immigrant children. 1853, that tells you a whole lot. So whose system was this made for? It wasn't made for black children. It wasn't made for brown children. As time went on, it's not made for any children. No matter what color, no matter what ethnic background, it wasn't made for anyone. When you are born to 2 parents, they are bringing you into this world without your permission. It is their job, it is their responsibility to provide for you and protect you and educate you. That is their job. That is their mission. But a lot of them don't give a fuck. They want to continue doing what they've been doing way before they got pregnant with you or with the children. And it happens. It happens every day. Some children are given a gift of not being born. Some are aborted. Some of them are killed in their parents' home. You know how many women I was locked up with that had killed their own children? Shout out to the chat. I did time in South Carolina. My inmate number 221644. I did time with Susan Smith and plenty other women that was in there for murdering their own children. How did the system fail them? How did the system fail them? It failed. There is no safety guard for children in this country. Not in no country. Children are sex trafficked. They're used as sex slaves. They're used as slaves. They're used as a weapon boy. A lot of children don't make it out of the foster care system. They don't. Mental hospitals are filled up with these children. And what happens when the children are released from those hospitals? What happens when they are released back into the arms of the foster care system that failed them? What happens to them? They don't make it. A lot of them don't make it. And if they do make it, a lot of them go right into the military. Some go into the prison system. The foster care system nowadays is just another pathway to the penitentiary. That's the way I see it. And that's the reality. A lot of people take those children in for the payments, the check payments. And they're hoping something is wrong with the child so they can get 2 paychecks, 3 paychecks, and keep the money to themselves. A lot of them don't have a conscience. Those people are narcissists. They don't have a fucking conscience. That's why I said the foster care system is corrupt. It needs to be reformed. And it doesn't need to be reformed by Congress. It doesn't need to be reformed by the teachers or the principals. It needs to be reformed by those of us that went through it. We need to start speaking up. You see, I'm on this channel right now. I'm the only one talking. No one has hit the link. The link is dropped. I know other people feel my pain. I know other people know my anguish. I know other people know my frustration about that system. That system failed me a long time ago. That system failed me at 9 years old, all the way until I was 14. It failed me again when I went into my 20s. Because when I was in my 20s, I was in the fucking penitentiary. You know how many women in there were foster children at one time or adopted by an abusive parent or abusive parents. This country used to use child labor to do certain jobs. Those jobs were outlawed years ago But if you're living in New York, if you're 14 years old, you can get your working papers. But what happens when you're in a home with the parent is concerned if you get a job, their check is going to be cut. They're not going to sign your working papers. What happens when you want to drop out of school and leave from home? You can't do it without them chasing after you, pursuing you. And to be a runaway is against the law. Did you know that? If you run away from your home, I don't know how many different times, maybe 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, they put you in a runaway shelter. Then later on down the road, they put you in a juvenile lockup. That's what they do. And the state is still getting paid for you being there. Wherever you go, if you're a foster kid child, it's just like you being a fucking inmate. Shout out to the chat. And that's the way I'm saying it. That's the way I'm fucking saying it. That system was not made for black children. It was made for white children. Shout out to the chat. That's the way it was. 1853. 1853. It was founded by a dude that was concerned about immigrant children. He wasn't concerned about slave children that was coming from the South, running away from slavery. No, they locked up the black children. They locked up the black children or lynched them or put them in one of those dumb petting zoos. This country is divided by race. There's no getting away from it. There's no getting away from it. Even the foster care system was divided by race. White children could go into the foster care system. Black children were sent out to work, to be a slave, to be locked up, to be on a chain gang. They don't tell you about that. They don't tell you about that. They want to hide the truth from you. And that's my take on the foster care system. Because it failed me, it failed DMX, and it failed other people. Even though DMX rose up, became a big time rapper, he was always unhappy about something. And if you hear what he said when he went to the children village, he said that was just his pathway to go to jail. They got lockup units for the children. They got juvenile facilities for the children. These children, some of them are not even true criminals. Just little shoplifters, runaways, and you get thrown in with somebody that killed somebody or robbed somebody or burglarized somebody else. It's a whole different world. The world changes then. Nobody talks about that. And we got generation after generation after generation after generation. Shout out to the chat. It is what the fuck it is. And I'm saying what the fuck it is. I don't give a fuck what nobody else say. That's my take on it. Shout out to the chat. I've been working all night. I'm tired. But I wanted to come in and do this video and give my take of what's going on in the foster care system in New York and probably everywhere else all over the United States. Nobody sees us as people. They see us as a number and a paycheck. Shout out to the chat. I'm out of here.